So a very important thing. Today morning we discussed about digital transformation. So we believe जी हमें digital transformation की ज़रूरत है, लेकिन अक्सर definitions level पर ही मसले हैं, तो आप actually करेंगे क्या? Luckily मेरे जो digital transformation में जो उस्ताद है ना, आज वो इधर तशरीफ़ लाए हैं, मुझे बड़ी खुशी है, और वो हैं सैयद अहमद साहब. So he came from Islamabad only to deliver this keynote on digital transformation and ERP. जितनी मैंने डिजिटल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन समझी है, किस किस को मेरी कीनोट स्पीच का मज़ा आया था मॉर्निंग में? हाथ खड़ा कीजिएगा. काफ़ी सारे हाथ हैं. अब आपको असल मज़ा अब आएगा. तो आई रिक्वेस्ट सैयद अहमद साहब, चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव DPL, and also he's part of Prime Minister Task Force on IT and Innovation in Pakistan. So please welcome Syed Ahmad साहब. अभी सीधे एयरपोर्ट से इधर ही आ रहे हैं आप लोगों की खातिर. वो हम मैनेज कर लेंगे. अच्छा ठीक है. पावर पॉइंट है.
Assalamu alaikum. So, thank you very much. That's a lot of pressure you put on me for this speech delivery. I'll be asking you to move the slides. So, my name is Syed Ahmad. I run a software company called DPL. I'm chair of IT in Prime Minister's Task Force on IT and Telecom, and I'm also part of the board of directors for PRAL and KPIT board. So I'm here to talk about the correlation and connection between ERP and digital transformation. So there are a lot of misunderstandings, misconceptions when it comes to everything about digital, And mainly it is because a lot of marketing and sales people, they just use all these buzzwords to sell their products, whether or not this relates to their product or not. So I will be talking about the three most important, three most used and misused words in the digital ecosystem. So one is digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. And I'll be talking about the differences between these and what different approaches you need to approach all of the three. Next. So digitization, what's that digitization? So basically, when you move from analog to digital, that's digitization. So if you're using computer to do your work as it is without changing your process, that's digitization. For example, if you are creating a file using a Word document, instead of writing it on a typewriter, or if you are saving your file on a cloud or a file system instead of in physical folders, or if you are sending these files over WhatsApp or email instead of through courier, that's digitization. So converting maps and land records into computers, that's digitization. It feels like we are still, this is like 40 years old concept, but unfortunately in Pakistan, we are still way behind. We still see fires burning all of the government files in a building with no backup. We still see Supreme Court waiting weeks to deliver summons and notices to the recipients. We still see clerks spending days trying to find a file. So we have a lot of work in Pakistan to do when it comes to digitization. Next. So, previous. So now I'll talk about digitalization. So where digitization uses a generic software like Microsoft Office, digitalization is more like when you use specialized software to standardize and to optimize your business processes. So this is like typical ERP platforms that you use. They are there to standardize your processes. They are there to optimize your processes. So for example, if you use QuickBooks to do your accounting, that's digitalization. You're doing the same thing, but you're using a specialized software. Or if you are using Oracle Financials to automate your entire finance department, that's digitalization. And basically, whenever you are opting for all of these ERP platforms and going for digitalization, you have to go for some kind of international best practices, because these products are made as per market standards. So you have to up your game to be at that level. So next. So while digitalization is all about standardization, digital transformation is all about innovation. What's the difference between innovation and standardization? Standardization means you are doing something that hundreds of thousands of other businesses around the world are doing. So SAP will not make a software just for you. They will make a software that is applicable to thousands of other businesses. So whatever you're going to do, everyone else is going to be doing that as well. So at best, you can hope to be at a market standard equal to your competition. But innovation requires you to be better than everyone else, requires you to be different than everyone else. That means standardization is not enough. You need to totally rethink your business processes. So there are new kind of technologies available in the market that are called 4IR, Industry 4.0 technologies. This include like IoT, artificial intelligence, blockchain, robotic process automation, helped by cloud and mobile. So these technologies were not there 10 or 15 years ago. That means now there is a whole set of new possibilities that were not there 10 years ago. And that's why you're looking at all this disruption happening. Netflix killing all the traditional businesses, huge media houses, just because they used these new technologies, whereas others were just, following the standardized procedures. So even small companies now have access to these innovative technologies. Through Amazon Web Services, you can access the most high-tech of the artificial intelligence and analytics and everything. So while all these three things are very different, they help support each other. So if your company is already digitized, that means your workforce already knows how to use computers, and that means rolling out a ERP is going to be easier for you than if the computer users were not computer savvy. Similarly, digital transformation can be a lot easier if you have all this structured data available through the ERP and everything, because so in digital transformation, the structured data, you can also have unstructured data, social media, all kind of other things, and you can make sense out of it. So digital transformation, so all of these are complementary in nature. One kind of supports the others. It's not mandatory though, but it helps. So next. So I'll talk about the difference in approach in implementation when you go for ERP implementation or digitalization of a company versus digital transformation of a company. So whenever you are going to roll out a ERP, typically it's an inward focus, department-wide automation. So you may go for automating entire finance department, or you may go towards automating the entire HR department. And even though these departments and modules talk to each other, they're fairly isolated in their own working, and they have their own strategies and everything. So this is kind of digitalization rollout implementation strategy. Next. In digital transformation, instead of this inward focus, you have an outward focus towards customer. So instead of department level, previously, slide. So instead of focusing on department level automation, you look at what is the problem of a customer you want to solve. So forget about department automation, everything. What's the biggest problem that if we solve it, then we can really kind of make a lot more revenue or a lot more profits or cut a lot of costs. So all the departments come together around that one customer journey, as we call it. How can we kind of use these, leverage all of these new technologies to solve these problems and kind of innovate around this customer problem? And as a result, be able to drive a lot more value out of it with a lot less effort. So there's a kind of approach that is supported by McKinsey, IBMs, and others, which is kind of digital factory approach. It's kind of approach where you incubate a startup culture within your corporate company that kind of has this outward focus towards the customer. So it's a very kind of a different vertical focus, and there are no departmental silos. Everyone work together towards the common problem. Similarly, there is a different approach and set of capabilities you need to procure digitalization, ERP versus digital transformation. So in a typical ERP platform procurement, you have a principal or a vendor, which is like Oracle, SAP, or a Salesforce, these big companies. They have a pre-built software that you are going to use. Then you have these system integrators who use these softwares, who are good at scaling, scoping and sizing the effort and cost and budgeting and everything. And then they are also good at business consulting, where they look at the software, they understand software, and they look at your company, and they try to bridge that gap. So they will configure the software to an extent where it is closer to your processes, and then maybe help you bridge the rest of the gap so that you and the software are aligned together. And the third part of this equation is the IT department or IT manager, who's typically good at 2 or 3 things. They're good at procurement of IT software and hardware. They're good at system support, and that's why they're seen as a support department. And they're good at operations of networking and data centers. That's what typical customers' IT departments are good at. And that's why they're generally seen as a cost center. But in digital transformation, everything is different. You need different mindset, different capabilities, and positioning to do this. So here, instead of the large software provider, you have all these technologies, AI, IoT, RPA, and all of these technologies are available on the cloud. It's democratized. It's not available within a few companies. You can go and get it open source. You can get it on Amazon, web services everywhere. You can subscribe. And these are not pre-configured, so they are open. You can innovate based on your own ideas. So it's like having your own startup based on which you can solve problems, iterate different ideas, and eventually. Then to implement these technologies, you need an agile software development partner who is back. So agile software development partner who is good at these innovative technologies. Generally, corporate companies don't have this capability in-house for artificial intelligence, IoT, and all that. So you need an IT partner who understands these technologies and who is agile in nature. That means who knows how to innovate like a startup. And then the third part of the equation is your own IT function. And the patronization has to directly be from a CEO for digital transformation. And for that, the business, cross-departmental business teams work with the technology partner to transform the business processes and everything. So you co-create, the business and the technology at the C-level, they work together to come up with innovative new models. Next, and that's why this is a revenue driver. This is not a cost center anymore. So when you look at ERP, this is like a solution-first approach, which means you already have a software, you already have a solution available, and you want to fit all the problems into that solution. Whereas digital transformation is more about problem-solving approach, where you first identify what's the biggest revenue opportunity we have, and then working your way towards a solution. And that solution doesn't have to be a particular software. It could be anything. And of course, it has to be very agile and flexible compared to the traditional model we have in digitalization. Next. So how do we take step towards this? I think all of these strategies are available to you. It's not just one strategy you have available. So first of all, you have to understand these options, and you have to choose what kind of digital strategy you're going to opt for. The CEO now needs to patronize the digital strategy. Why? Because digital is disrupting businesses worldwide. Now digital is the differentiation, it's the innovation. So that's why the CEO needs to step in. Technology function needs to be upgraded to a C-level. You need to upgrade skill set inside your own organization for readiness. And then you need to find the right partner for relevant strategy. So I was short on time. I tried to convey like these just very basic ideas about the differences in approaches and everything. I would be very glad if you guys approach me for details on these approaches, and I would be glad to have a conversation around that. Thank you very much. So you're asking, do you have to go for first digitalization and then digital transformation, or can we go directly? I think there is a huge opportunity. So digitalization, ERPs, they are a huge effort. And there is an opportunity where you can just create this shortcut directly to these new technologies. Why? Because now you have mobile and cloud with you. You don't need data centers. You don't need all these computers and all. So just take an example of India. West and Europe, they invested heavily on telecom infrastructure and computers and everything. And Indians, they missed that boat, but now every Indian has a mobile phone, and they don't need that infrastructure and everything. So I think there is a way directly towards digital transformation, but that needs a radically new kind of mindset approach towards that. Thank you very much.